Hi, welcome to the CORTEX tutorial for using the MTI Samsung rescaling component. I'm Ian, and today I'm going to walk you through the use of the Color Tools Function tab for upresing with MTI Samsung's high-quality rescaling algorithm. Let's get started. By now, you've learned how to set up your project along with workflows and their deliverables. If you haven't, we recommend familiarizing yourself with CORTEX by going to tutorials.mtifilm.com before coming back and viewing this tutorial. Once your project is set up, you'll need to create a deliverable that defines the various properties required for upresing. They include file type and any associated properties such as a bit rate and possibly compression and color format. The target resolution. Carefully select it from the list of options available. If you don't see the exact one you want, select Custom at the bottom of the list and enter the width and height dimensions manually. For resize quality, be sure to select MTI Samsung and note that the playback might be affected due to the computational intensity of the algorithm. For framing, you'll most likely want to choose Original Clip. However, if needed, choosing Color Tool will provide full manual control using the framing component located in the Color Tool. If you do choose Color Tool, be sure that the Apply Creative Color and Effects checkbox is enabled. For method, the likely choice is Center Extract, but you should experiment with the different settings once the job is created and the picture has been imported. Double-clicking on the Deliverable tab will allow you to interactively change the settings and review them on screen. Once your deliverable configuration is set, click Save, and then in your job, click on the Color Tool tab. Above the player window, select the tab of the deliverable that you created for the upres. This allows you to see the results in the UI and SDI output, and also enables the MTI Samsung component. Select the Functions tab and the MTI Samsung component. See here that the component is enabled and that the different properties are set to their default values. The default values are recommended, however, you can adjust them as needed. If your project is compiled of multiple clips, for example movie reels, you can choose to upres each reel discretely through the creation of CORTEX reels. This method maintains a one-to-one relationship between the source and the upres result. If you require your reels to be in a continuous playout, then first create a composition in the Edit tool and add each reel in order. If you're unfamiliar with the Edit tool, you'll find the proper tutorial at tutorials.mtifilm.com. If the source picture is letter or pillar boxed, set a mask to avoid potential artifacting of the edges. If the mask is applied to the source clips prior to their being added to the composition, the mask will automatically show up. However, if you create the composition first, then you're going to need to apply the mask in the Color Tool for each segment of your composition. The mask is only used to define the upres region and is not rendered into the final picture. Here are the steps to follow when upresing each clip in a discrete CORTEX reel. If a mask is not required, then right-click on the clip and select Add to New Reel. Name the reel and select the proper timecode. Source is recommended, but if you choose continuous, provide a start timecode that makes sense for that reel. Check the settings and then click Create and Close. Closing a reel disables all controls that could cause the render to restart if changes are made to the properties of the clip. The upres will begin to render in the background. You can see its status in the lower right-hand corner or by clicking on the Render tab for more details. Repeat the process for each clip in turn. The render of each reel will begin automatically once the previous reel is completed. As we mentioned, if the source is either letter or pillar boxed, you'll need to apply a mask. Select the first clip that's going to be modified. Then check the box to enable the mask component. To accurately set the mask, you'll want to zoom in to locate the actual beginning of the active picture. There are two methods to do this. You can use the one-to-one mode, and if the zoom amount is sufficient, this will provide a pixel-to-pixel view in the UI. Alternatively, you can use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out of the player. The use of the mouse wheel to zoom does not affect the actual framing. Once zoomed, left-click and drag in the player and reposition the image to find the beginning of your active picture. Using the up, down, left, and right arrow buttons, adjust the mask until covering all the lines of pixels prior to where the active picture begins. The mask is colored gray in order to contrast against what is probably a black letter or pillar box. Without a modifier, the mask moves in increments of 1 pixel. Holding down the Shift button is going to move the mask in increments of 10 pixels. Once the settings are defined, click the Save button or press Ctrl+S. If you move to another clip without explicitly saving, the settings are automatically saved. Pressing the 8 key will inherit the settings of the previous clip in the bin. Pressing the 9 key will inherit the settings of the next clip in the bin. In either case, pressing either key repeatedly will inherit the settings of their respective clips in turn. You're now ready to create and render a reel for each clip exactly as we did for non-masked reels. If you're required to create a composition containing all reels in order, here are the steps. If you've already applied the mask directly to the source clips, use the Edit tool to create the composition and add each clip in order. Once completed, right-click on the composition and select Render from the context menu. Choose your deliverable and click OK. If you have not set a mask, switch to the Color tool. Click on the Functions tab and the MTI Samsung component. Be sure a video track is enabled, and if one is not enabled, the Color tool components are going to be inactive. Beginning at the first segment of the composition, enable the mask function and set it as we mentioned earlier. Once set, press the R key or down arrow to move to the next segment. The settings will be saved automatically. Press the 8 key to recall the previous segment's settings, and both the 8 and 9 keys behave exactly the same way as explained before. Once all the segments are set, right-click on the composition and select Render. Choose your deliverables and click OK. And that is the MTI Samsung Upres tutorial in CORTEX. To learn more fully about CORTEX, please watch our other tutorials by going to tutorials.mtifilm.com. For support, to submit a help ticket, or to find other useful information about CORTEX, please check out forum.mtifilm.com. Thanks!